Buonasera a tutti, benvenuti a Purpose Beyond Profits, la presentazione in Italia per la prima volta del Purpose Playbook, qui in occasione del Salone del CSR dell'innovazione sociale. I will switch in English because all the panels will be in English, but I apologize first of all for my poor English. I'm Giovanni Petrini, I am a senior consultant of ON, Trasformazioni Generative, a social enterprise and a consultancy focused on purpose-driven organization. With Alleanza per la generatività sociale that will be introduced after by Patrizia Cappelletti in the second panels, we decided to translate the Purpose Playbook because we recognize in share value the most powerful approach to help business leaders to transform their organization into purpose-driven companies. Also, we believe that it's really important right now to tackle the challenges of contemporary, to create, to increase the ability of community, institutions and companies and businesses to generate share value. So first of all, I will say grazie, thank you to Adib Mahmoud, Managing Director of FSG, that with Share Value Initiative are the producer, the author of Purpose Playbook, to accept to let the playbook translated in Italian and to attend our event this evening. For us, let me say, it's a common goal to try to help business leaders and their companies and their businesses to change the paradigm of their way to be sustainable. For us, it's not a choice, an ethical choice. It's not an option. It's the right way to grow, to attract talent, to attract investment, and so to be sustainable in long term. This is the reason we talk about contributive sustainability. We will get deeper on this concept in the second panels. Before going, I will thank you also all the discussants and that accept to be here sharing with us their practices and their thinkings. And also say thank you to Rossella Sobrero and all the team of Salone della CSR that enjoy and host us tonight. I will introduce you Fabrizio D'Angelo, that is a friend, a member of our ecosystem related to generatività sociale and the paradigm of generatività sociale, but he's here also because he is from Vita, the media partner of the event, but also the main media in Italy about social innovation and third sector and organization and not-for-profit organization. I leave him the honor to manage all the evening. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Giovanni. And it's a big pleasure for me to have been hired as a host for this evening. We will have two panels. The first panel, as Giovanni mentioned, is about the Purpose Playbook. Purpose Playbook, which was developed and launched this year by the Shared Value Initiative and FSG. FSG is a social impact focused consulting and research firm, which was founded in the year 2000 by Harvard professor Michael Porter and Mark Kramer. And their Shared Value Initiative, which is housed within FSG, is a global platform for leaders seeking to solve societal challenges through business solutions and to help companies fulfill a purpose beyond profits alone. I would say beyond profits alone is one of the key words that we will be discussing today. The way we will proceed is hosting a number of dialogues. The first dialogue is between Mr. Adib Mahmoud, which will be connected shortly, and Antonio Romani, also senior consultant of ON. Mr. Mahmoud will introduce the Purpose Playbook and will explain us why purpose is important for companies to pursue. Adib, as has been said already, is a managing director at FSG, where he leads the firm's Washington, D.C. office, and is also a member of FSG's team working on corporate purpose. Adib has worked in a number of companies in a number of sectors, among them healthcare, technology, mining, chemical industries, as well as with foundations and non-profit clients, so an extensive experience. Adib focuses on shared value, CSR, and cross-sector partnerships, and also health and global development issues. So I would say I will move to this first presentation and give the floor to Adib that will explain us what purpose actually is and how it actually works. So let's say, Adib, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Buonasera. Are you able to hear and see me okay?
Loud and clear.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Fabrizio. Thank you, Giovanni, and thank you to On. I'm really happy to be here with all of you today. I live in the United States. I'm sitting here in my home. We're still under partial lockdown in America. So I live right outside Washington, D.C. in Maryland. I wish that I was there with all of you in person. I was in Milano actually just last year, and I'm sorry that I'm not there with you, but I'm really happy that I have this opportunity to talk to you about the Purpose Playbook and about how we think about corporate purpose. When we started working on the Purpose Playbook almost 2 years ago, we had no idea that we would be launching the playbook in the middle of a global pandemic. We knew that purpose was important, and that activating purpose is even more critical than just having a purpose. But this pandemic has shown us how important and how critical it is that companies pursue not just profits, but profits and purpose together. As you know, here in America, we are just a few weeks away from our national elections. The first presidential debate was last night, and listening to the debate again, I was reminded of how the challenges that our country is facing and the challenges that the globe is facing, whether it's healthcare, education, climate change, job creation, these are not challenges that government can take on by themselves, no matter which political party is in power. We believe that there is a very strong role for the private sector to be involved, and we think when companies pursue profits, they can create greater social impact. Our goal at FSG is to work with individual companies and industries to partner with them in their journey to become purpose-led companies. And in my role, as Fabrizio was saying, I partner with companies across industries of many sizes to define and live into their purpose. And we want to make sure that the resources and tools that we develop at FSG, such as the Purpose Playbook, are shared around the world. And so we are very grateful to Antonio, for taking the initiative to translate the playbook into Italian. We're very happy for this to be the official launch of the Purpose Playbook in Italian and in Italy. I'd like to share a few slides. Let me do that. Fabrizio, are you able to see the slides?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Excellent. So before we get into talking about the playbook, maybe some of you are wondering, why do we care about purpose? Why is this important? And at FSG, the reason we all come to work every day is about social change. So it's clear why we think companies should be purpose-led. But if you're sitting inside a company, whether you're the CEO, whether you're a manager, whether you're a factory worker, you might be thinking, why should I care about purpose? Why should my company care about purpose? So here are several reasons why we think companies should care about purpose. These are the various stakeholders that are important to a company. Research has shown that customers are more likely to buy from companies that are purpose-led. And customers are more likely to switch to brands from other brands that are also purpose-led. 70% of tomorrow's business leaders, those who are millennials today, some of them are already business leaders, say that they want to work for companies that are led not just by profits, but by profits and purpose together. And they want their paychecks and their employment to reflect that. Communities are increasingly expecting companies to contribute to their development. And finally, we are seeing that investors, not just social investors, but mainstream investors like BlackRock, are saying that companies in which they invest also need to be led by purpose. So we believe that there are multiple reasons for why companies should care about purpose. So if we agree that purpose is important to companies, what do we mean when we say purpose? At FSG, we define a company's purpose as a company's reason for being that simultaneously helps solve a societal problem and creates significant financial value for the company. And I want to underscore this phrase again. Company's purpose should help solve a societal problem and create financial value for the company. With that definition, we think that a purpose that is worth having should have at least these 4 characteristics: significant, authentic, profitable, and serious. Now, I know these might not translate exactly from English to Italian, but I think what's more important is the idea behind each of these characteristics. So let me just share a little bit more about these with very brief examples. Significant means that the company's purpose must address an unmet social need. For example, something that's defined by the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. The French food company Danone has committed to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. And Danone has an early life nutrition division, and their commitment to health and nutrition in the first 1,000 days shape all of the company's decision in their early life nutrition division. Authentic means that the purpose reflects the company's values, culture, and assets. The outdoor company Patagonia's purpose is in business to save our home planet. Patagonia's commitment for the environment is evident in its approach to its product development, its procurement, even in its marketing. Its purpose is authentic to the company's business. Profitable. A profitable purpose drives measurable business value for the company. An example here is the South African-based, now global insurance company, Discovery Health. Discovery's core purpose is to make people healthier and enhance and protect their lives. And Discovery, through their Vitality program, provides incentives to its members, to its subscribers, for healthy living, healthy eating and exercises. And what they've seen as a result is that the members of the Vitality program, they live longer, they require less hospitalization, which directly lowers cost for the insurance company. So by linking their purpose to profits, Discovery has been able to grow their net profit by over 16% between 2009 and 2014. Finally, a serious purpose ensures accountability within the company by tying impact with incentives. And here in your country, in Italy, Enel has developed a corporate strategy that makes clear commitments to reductions in emissions and increasing access to affordable and clean energy for 3 million individuals. I know Maria Cristina is there. You'll have an opportunity to hear from her later. Enel is able to do this by aligning financial and other incentives of its managers to the purpose and the goals that it has set. Defining a purpose that is significant and authentic, profitable and serious, that's an important first step. If you have a purpose, then it's important to take a look at the various parts of the company. And this graphic shows all of the different aspects of a company, from its suppliers to philanthropy to human resources. While all of these parts of the company are important for it to live into its purpose, as Fabrizio mentioned earlier, we believe that one of the most powerful practices for purpose-led companies is to practice shared value. In fact, we advocate that shared value should be the dominant element in a company's journey to become a purpose-led company. FSG has written a lot about and worked on shared value with many companies. Shared value is a business strategy. It is different from philanthropy and corporate responsibility. It is about identifying social challenges as business opportunities and solving social challenges that can create more profits for the company or reduce costs for the company, or both. In the session after this, we have a video from my colleague Mark Kramer where he's going to talk more about shared value in detail. So the playbook, let me just orient you to how we have structured the playbook. The playbook follows the structure of the framework that I'm sharing with you, and it starts with, again, leading with purpose. This is, as we've mentioned, this is about developing a purpose that is significant, authentic, profitable, and serious. The purpose of a company sits within the culture of that company. That culture can either help the company to be purpose-led, or it can stand in the way. It can hinder a company in its journey to be purpose-led. For example, if your company is always thinking in short term, it is difficult to practice shared value and to be purpose-led. So that's one characteristics of the culture. There are three major elements that we talk about in the playbook: strategy, operations, and people. And each of these have three practices. So there are 9 practices in total. Under strategy, we talk about how do you identify shared value opportunities, what is unique about your company, and how do you set strategies and goals based on that. Under operations, we talk about what is the process for innovation within your company. How do you engage in partnerships, new models of cooperation, and how do you measure and report your impact? And under people, we talk about designing your organization to be purpose-led, harnessing the talent, and the communications that's required for companies to share with others and engage others about your purpose. Now, leading with purpose is not just the first step. It's not just the beginning. It is, again, central to how a company goes about achieving purpose. In terms of the content inside the playbook, I mentioned these 9 practices. So each practice has its own section. When you look into the playbook, you'll see that each of the practices have definitions, a description of what good looks like, and action steps for you. There are also, each of them have examples from companies, as well as links in here for case studies and other resources. For Shared Value Initiative members, you also have access to various exercises. And then finally, in the playbook, we have checklists as well. Now, I know that for many of you, what you care about is not just the theory, but the practice, right? And again, you'll find that this is very practical. I'll just mention 2 quick examples. Under one of the practices of opportunity identification, you'll find recommendations about how research and materiality analysis and using your networks can help you find the shared value opportunities. You'll also find examples, as I mentioned, from other companies. And I do want to mention that whether you're a large multinational company like Enel, or you're a small company operating in just one region or one town, identifying the right opportunities that is unique to you is just as relevant. A second opportunity is under, an example I'll mention is under the new models of cooperation, which is about partnering. We have an exercise, again, this is for Shared Value Initiative members, but this exercise where you can list what are your various collaborators within and outside the company, and a way to rate your current partnerships. I know that in Italy, companies are specific to individual regions. And as you think about the social challenges in your region, whether it's job creation or poverty or education, you will most likely need to partner with other companies and other funders. And so, again, going through this exercise can help you think about how to approach that partnership and expand your partnerships in a thoughtful way. Another way to engage with the playbook is if you go to the website, purposeplaybook.org, you can take a very quick assessment. So it's 12 questions, and you answer those questions, and it gives you an assessment of where you are on your journey from starting out to gaining momentum to ready to scale. So that may be another way for you to engage, and business executives in your company to engage. We have also launched what we're calling a Purpose Playbook cohort. We started this a few weeks ago with 6 companies across different industries, healthcare, clothing, financial services, and other industries. These 6 companies are meeting over a course of a few months to talk about how they will use the playbook and what purpose means for them. So if you're interested in this, again, please reach out. We are hoping to start the next cohort in October. And lastly, I will mention that this playbook was designed with input from many companies, but it is also version 1. We know that we may have missed things. There are definitely opportunities for improving what we have in here. So I encourage you to read it. I encourage you to please reach out to us with either suggestions or your feedback, either at this website, or you can reach out to me directly as well. So with that, I'll end my part of the presentation. I hope that this is useful and interesting. I hope that each of you will read the playbook and that you will share it with others. And again, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak with you. Grazie mille.
Thank you very much, Adib. I was very impressed. It was very, in my opinion, very clear. And we had our first crash course in purpose. And to deepen it further, I would now ask Antonio Romani to explain to us how he came up with the idea to translate the Purpose Playbook. The title of our panel, in fact, the first dialogue between you, Adib, and Antonio is Purpose Playbook meets social generativity. So I would ask Antonio, first of all, to give us his view of purpose and why purpose matters, and why purpose needs to meet social generativity and social generativity, and how this can actually happen. Antonio is a mechanical engineer. I just found out he has a Swiss mother, as much as I do, which is can be very convenient, but also very heavy at times. Depends on the occasion, and has an extensive experience in many companies, top position in many companies, most of them big. So Alitalia, SHS Group, Demetrio Mauro. He also was part of the Olympic Committee of Torino 2006. So I can only imagine how he needed to be Swiss in that occasion. And he currently works as a consultant on sustainability and change management issues. So Antonio, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fabrizio. Adibe, thank you again for the opportunity we had to work together. And I just want to mention that the Italian version of the Purpose Playbook is online, is available on the website of purposeplaybook.org, if I remember well the internet address. And it's freshly edited, so anybody can just check in the website and download the Italian version. Why did we decide to translate it? Because we think it is very important to spread the voice about purpose. And of course, not everybody speaks English, although it's a very common language. It's the common English business language. But we thought that translating it into Italian would be very helpful for many of the entrepreneurs and leaders in Italy who maybe are more comfortable reading it in Italian. The concept of purpose is very powerful to us. First of all, because besides of the practice of shared value, which is now some 10 years that we are talking about, and explain us how to change business models, the purpose explains us why we should do it. And so purpose is very aspirational, and it really goes back to what values are of the people running companies, working in companies, and giving a real meaning on what they are doing. So it's very powerful because it's a strong link to what we stand for and what we do every day. Because at the end, we spend a lot of time in our companies, in the companies we work for. And I think if you have a meaning and have the sense of a meaning, it is much more easy to work with enthusiasm. And in the playbook, there are a few statistics that explain that, especially among millennials, either when they are consumer, either when they are employees. They care very much about about the meaning of what they do. Corporations have always been the central driver of economical development, and so far they have been central to the growth and the distribution of wealth in developed economies. But today there are many public concerns which have to be addressed, and I think that formulating a purpose just around, as usually companies did, about elaborating a vision and a mission statement and then deploying it into strategy and organization and culture to maximize shareholder value is not enough, because public concerns today are about environment, are about inclusion, are about equality. And I think that if you are able to state as a company a purpose, which is a purpose beyond profit, you will have an inspiration and you will know why you have to do things differently. And we know how to do it. We know that we can do it through the practice of shared value. Second is that today, I think there are emerging challenges that leaders of corporations will have to face. One of these is the adoption of artificial intelligence, the use or the abuse of personal data, robotics. And I think if you have a purpose built in your strategy, in your culture, it will be much more easy to address those issues and give an answer to how you behave as a company. As you stated, in Italy, many of the companies are small, medium-sized companies. Many of them are run by an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs usually have a strong link to their communities, to the territory they belong to, and they have very clear what the social issues are. Therefore, we think that Purpose Playbook, which is, of course, refers to a theory, but is very practical because it really explains you what to do every day, how to influence your decision-making, how to define job roles, and how to design your organization, how you organize your operations, will be a very helpful tool to move forward into adopting a purpose and implementing shared value.
Thank you very much, Paolo. And you said, is there any initiative that will be done by ON to promote further the book? So this is the launch, the official launch.
Yes, it is an official launch, and we are thinking of making more events like this to spread the voice and to talk about the Purpose Playbook and what it means to have a purpose and implementing shared value. Later on, we will talk about social generativity. Let me just say one final word about why purpose is important in social generativity. At the base of social generativity is the concept that human beings want to be agency, will be agent in the world and want to have a positive impact in the world. And to do that, they need to have a purpose. We call it un senso. And what influences the senso is the desire to do so. Later on, Mauro Magatti will give us a lecture in social generativity, and we will expand on that. But for us, purpose is really a very important word. It's at the basis of social generativity.
So thank you very much, Antonio. And I think the other important message is, as much as Adib was saying, this is an interactive launch. So I think the whole process of launching this concept will be having feedback and building on that and building some momentum for purpose, yes, purpose-led companies in Italy as well.
Absolutely. And we hope we will be able to give some feedback for the release of Purpose Playbook edition 2.0 and 3.0, etc. So we really look forward, and we hope that other Italian companies will inscribe into the ecosystem and contribute in that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So we can now move to the next stage. I would say after understanding the theory, understanding the reasons, understanding the frame, let me say, we decided it was very useful, or it could be helpful at least, to be confronted with reality. So we invited some business leaders, some of them really visionary, to give us their view and their account of how they have implemented, created and founded companies with a purpose, or introduced the concept of purpose in their daily routine. So I would start with another dialogue, the second dialogue of the day, between Mr. Pier Giovanni Capellino, founder of the Capellino Foundation, and of this company called Almonature, which I found out, about the existence of which I found out a couple of days ago, because I don't own pets. Therefore, I had no reason to come across Almonature. Reading what Almonature is, I came to this conclusion that in the year 2000, Mr. Capellino, watching a world where sometimes we treat human beings like animals, decided to go the opposite way and started treating animals like human beings. So he decided to start producing pet food with ingredients and with a quality of ingredients that is equal, at least, to the, or equal, certified equal, to the food that humans consume and eat. Therefore, he decided to upgrade and to offer our companion friends with 4 legs something that was equal to what we were having. So let's share with them what we have good in the world. I found this concept disarmingly simple and disarmingly nice. And it's not only me, I think many people did, because the success of Almonature, which became a real multinational over the last 20 years, and the results of this company are there to testify that people were ready and were mature to understand what all this game was about. And then there was the second step. Not only Mr. Capellino established this company and made it successful, but in the year 2018, he decided, together with his brother, to give the shares, to pledge the shares to a foundation. 100% of the shares, 100% of the voting rights. And all the profits coming from the activity, all the profits of Almonature, go straight to the foundation. In fact, the company, as they define it on the website, the corporation today is nothing but one of the projects of the foundation. So the roles are completely reversed. And this is fascinating as well. It was, again, I think, a premiere in the world, and something that tells you a lot about what having a purpose actually means. We decided to have Mr. Capellino speak with you, with the whole audience, and we are extremely glad and proud that he accepted. And we will have Paolo Pezzana interviewing him or interacting with him. His presentation will be in Italian, and Paolo will translate parts of it in English, or the core of it in English. And Paolo is also a senior consultant at On, also an impressive CV, which I will skip because of time reasons. But Paolo will interact with Mr. Capellino, and they will tell us more about what having a purpose actually means. Thank you very much, and Mr. Capellino, the floor is yours and Paolo's. Thank you.
It's me. Okay, I am very sorry to speak in Italian. First of all, grazie mille, perché la sua presentazione praticamente non rende più necessario che io parli, perché o noi abbiamo, diciamo, un website perfetto da cui si desume tutto così facilmente, cosa che non penso, oppure lei, diciamo, ha saputo veramente leggere e andare oltre, diciamo, quello che noi abbiamo scritto. Quindi grazie 2 volte, perché mi semplifica, diciamo, poi il lavoro di presentazione. Se Paolo fosse d'accordo, io vorrei suggerire di lasciare il Capellino, perché c'è già la fondazione, quindi è stato trasferito lì il Capellino, e restare sul Pier Giovanni, perché, diciamo, in questa diciamo, mia visione delle cose penso che le apposizioni non servano più, nella modernità le apposizioni non servono più, quello che hai fatto bene conta quello che farai. Magari Paolo, se lei, tu come vuole, fossi d'accordo, io farei degli interventi brevi per permetterti di tradurre e riprendere. Se siamo d'accordo possiamo procedere così.
Yes, thank you, Pier Giovanni. I agree with you. So Pier Giovanni proposed to have short intervention, then I try to translate or better synthesize after the exposition, and he also was great to Fabrizio for the introduction, saying that his website probably is a good website that explains everything about foundation and Elmo Nature. Elmo Nature is a big player, is a top player at world level in pet food, so it's not a small company or a visionary company, but it's a real important player in the market. So I agree with him, and I give him the floor, asking him initially why, to focus on why Cappellino's built Cappellino Foundation with the purpose they chosen, and how the purpose of the main company, that is not more the main company, but just one of the projects of the company, was had been affected by this purpose. So how the purpose were developed together in this frame. So go ahead, Pier Giovanni, and when you stop, I'll try to synthesize.
Ok, grazie. Ma diciamo che avrei voluto meglio tagliare corto, cassare la domanda ed invocare la necessità morale per gli umani di rinunciare al diritto delegato da Dio prima ed oggi autocertificato di dominare sul pianeta. Rinunciare al dominio per rispettare come dovere civico del terzo millennio. Rispettare gli umani, ma rispettare anche le altre forme di vita e gli habitat da cui dipendono. Però, diciamo, siccome voi vi attendete altro da me, diciamo, fatta questa premessa a cui tenevo perché rappresenta il mio modo di pensare, poi adesso passerò, dopo la traduzione di Paolo, ad una presentazione più concreta.
Okay, just a nitty forward, because Pier Giovanni would like to go straight to the moral necessity to pass from to renounce, to have the control, the total control on things and creatures, to respect things and creatures. So to make businesses is also for him to translate in reality respect for creature, for nature and sustainability. But we wait for him some concrete contribution, so we let ethic apart and go ahead with the description of his enterprise.
Okay. Serve ancora una piccola premessa per spiegare perché si è giunti alla donazione, ma sarò veramente molto veloce. Il modello che domina la nostra epoca economico-culturale, eccetera, già attraverso una parola ed un verbo, crescita, la crescita e crescere, promesso e permesso perlomeno alle nostre latitudini attraverso lo sfruttamento organizzato delle risorse naturali del pianeta, una forma di giustizia consistita in un benessere materiale diffuso e in diritti civili diffusi. Però oggi tutti abbiamo avuto modo di constatare che il modello funziona con sempre maggiori difficoltà, forse irrisolvibili dalla politica, ma c'è un però. Questo modello economico necessita di uno sfruttamento delle risorse naturali, più crescita materiale, più PIL, che sta compromettendo le leggi non scritte che governano gli equilibri del nostro pianeta, con conseguente rapida distruzione della biodiversità, sino a rendere sempre più probabile la possibilità di scomparsa e o severo ridimensionamento degli umani, da vedersi come riduzione del loro numero e perdita della qualità della loro vita, con conseguenti implicazioni culturali, politiche e sociali, nonché psicologiche, che possono, diciamo, far pensare, diciamo, anche a scenari come gli scenari di Mad Max come scenari possibili. Quindi noi stiamo rompendo gli equilibri che garantiscono la vita per come l'abbiamo sin qui conosciuta. Quindi serve, dal mio punto di vista, riorientare il modello economico e da qui si origina questa scelta. Paolo,
Okay.
se vuoi tradurre, sono stato un po'
Okay,
lungo.
foundation choice born in an environment where Pier Giovanni's brother and his companies were aware of the fact that the actual development model is completely brokening the balance of the life on the planet, of sustainability of environment, and raise inequality, raise exploitation, causing a risk for the same human life, for the same human being. The scenario we have had is a scenario like the Mad Max film if we don't change the model. So we have to change the model, and their choices started from this wish to change the model. Go ahead.
Grazie. Serve quindi rompere la continuità, ma serve farlo senza ricorrere ai modelli che la storia ha giudicato falliti. Giusto per intenderci, del tipo sostituire lo zar con Stalin. Quindi dal mio punto di vista non è neanche un tema di capitalismo o socialismo, ma è un tema di potere. Quindi, partendo da questa premessa così velocemente fatta, e mi scuso perché in presenza di così tanti professori, diciamo, mi sono permesso di fare, diciamo, un ragionamento che solitamente un imprenditore, diciamo, non fa. E quindi partendo da questa premessa che con mio fratello Lorenzo abbiamo deciso di donare Almonature ad una fondazione Capellino per l'appunto, che ha come obiettivo quello di contribuire a salvaguardare la biodiversità, dando contemporaneamente avvio ad un modello che abbiamo denominato noi stessi, dopo averlo chiamato a lungo modello, ci siamo resi conto, stupidamente, perché avremmo potuto, avendo, diciamo, dimestichezza con la comunicazione, farlo prima, ma penso che sia stato un motivo di pudore che ci ha impedito di denominare noi e non lasciare ad altri la definizione di questo modello, ma adesso l'abbiamo denominato e quindi il nome c'è, e quindi l'abbiamo denominato come economia della restituzione. Detto genericamente, i frutti non si accumulano più su di un conto privato, ma attraverso progetti mirati sono destinati alla salvaguardia della biodiversità. Contemporaneamente all'accettazione della donazione, la Fondazione ha imposto ad Almonature, dico imposto, lo dico un po' provocatoriamente, ovviamente essendo azionista unico non ha dovuto imporre nulla, ad Almonature la trasformazione del suo statuto e l'obiettivo di, in 10 anni, di giungere ad avere un impatto sulla biodiversità zero. Come in questo momento non ve lo saprei dire, perché tutte le filiere che ruotano attorno al pet food sono filiere ad alto impatto sulla biodiversità. Tutti i discorsi che si fanno sono discorsi di marketing e quindi sono pure illusioni di cambiamento. Però mi sono detto, se, diciamo, in passato gli umani hanno sfidato l'ignoto, diciamo, noi oggi che abbiamo il comfort di tantissimi strumenti possiamo darci una sfida su un tempo relativamente lungo di questo genere, di portare questa azienda che continuerà a fare pet food ad avere un impatto neutro sulla biodiversità, che è altra cosa da quello che la Fondazione fa e farà. Prego Paolo.
Grazie per Giovanni. Unfortunately, the time struggles, so we have not more time to go in deep, but he says that the main purpose that lead the idea of the company and the foundation is to arrive in 10 years in having zero impact on biodiversity. Is a strong purpose in that sense that they pursued giving all the share to the foundation, like Fabrizio said, and asking to the company, to Almo Nature, to give every profit in the foundation and to put in their Magna Carta the idea that they have to pursue that goal, even if the goal is not clear in this moment in the practice. So they don't know how to do, but they know that they should do. So they call this model, the new model they propose, economy of restitution. And they want to pursue an economy in which profits are not only profits, but also a kind of restitution to the society, to the planet, to the biodiversity of what they pick up from the planet to build and to produce pet food.
So thank you very much. Unfortunately, I would love to listen to Mr. Capellino for years, in fact, and I think his message I appreciated very much, because I really tried to understand what his company was about, what his moves were about. And listening to him, the next thought that comes to my mind is the following. His message very strongly is that purpose is your responsibility. So it's a personal responsibility. And you have to engage in it personally, with your face, with your substance, with your ideas and your creativity. So he makes the concept of purpose very, very personal. And I think this is, it connects us very well with the next panel, because we decided to go one step further and ask another couple of business leaders what purpose means for them in practice and how they were able to take responsibility for it, what it means for them in fact. And we have with us two more business leaders, two more global business leaders. One is Roberta Silva, which is the Chief Executive Officer of Floss, which is a major lighting design company based in Brescia, in Italy. And ciao. Which I was in touch with yesterday. She was meant to be here in person, but then a COVID situation happened at school, and she had to pick up her children, so she couldn't be with us today. It's a pity, but we welcome you on video nonetheless. And sitting next to me, on the other hand, is Jean-Sébastien Decaux, CEO of JC Decaux Holding. Now, he had a number of prominent business positions in the family company. The family company is very familiar to all Italians, because all the outdoor or the main outdoor outlets of our country are marked with his family name, so everyone should in fact know him very well. But he's here today in a different capacity, not only in the capacity of a business leader, of a company leader and a CEO, but also as someone who on January 1st, 2020, left his operational function in the board of directors and started to devote himself to the development of the impact activities of the family investments. So he also decided to take impact and to take purpose very personally, let me say. So I have a few questions for you. Let's try to be very straight in asking and very quick, if possible, in answering, so we can ask many questions. The first one is very simple. How and when did you decide that purpose mattered for you personally, and therefore that had to matter for your organization? So for you first and then for the organization. Roberta, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah. So first of all, I spent more than 30 years in American companies. So I was following ADIB because I think that American companies have started since the beginning to be very sensitive to this. At the beginning was more a marketing need because it was necessary to be sensitive to some topics and the way of implementing so the CSR was mainly a marketing objective. More and more in the companies that I have worked in, so in food, in consumer electronics, and now in design, I've seen more and more the evolution from an approach that was more focused on what I do, what I produce, to a why. So the why I'm in the business, and why I have to produce these products, the why of my brand, the why of being in the business. And this has created a sort of strong evolution, because from something that you have to do in order to be good, to something that you want to do in order to be in the business. So from this concept, I was following Adib, from profit generation to value generation, is I can create profit through this kind of approach. And understanding the why for a company is not easy, and it's a long process. I have spent time in Bose, that is consumer electronic. Now I'm in lighting, that is very strong in the design. And what we have seen more and more is the importance of the human-centric approach. So Pier Giovanni was speaking about animals, but my point is related to the human-centric approach. Sound and lighting, what is important to the human and to the human being, and what we can do in order to be in line with that and also generating profit. It's a journey, because in Bose started several years ago, and in Floss, company that is in the lighting design, has started a few years ago, but it's an important process that is it's impacting the full company, the full value chain.
Thank you very much, Roberta. What's your experience? How did you meet the purpose?
Yes, thank you very much for the invitation for such an important topic, and thank you for On and Giovanni Petrini for the invite. I think that very basically and very straightforward, the world is full of needs, and therefore the world is full of purpose. And when you look at our history of the company, of the family business, JCDecaux, JCDecaux today is the largest out-of-home advertising player in the world, with a very specific business model, meaning that we provide services to cities, to people, free of charge, in exchange of advertising rights, in exchange of qualitative advertising spaces in more than 4,000 cities around the world and 80 countries around the world. And if we are here today as the largest player, is not because of money, is not because of the what, but is because, as Roberta mentioned, of the why. When my father started, he was 18 years old in the north of France with no money. He basically got the idea, being on the ground, to see that advertising spaces with no purpose, meaning cartellonistica, meaning a simple billboard, had no future, because public leaders didn't want more billboards, and people in the streets didn't need more billboards. And he came up with the idea of the advertising bus shelter. It was a very simple idea, not existing at that time. And because of this idea, because of the purpose of his mission that he wanted to do, he was young and he wanted to believe in a very strong idea and concept, he managed basically in front of all the established billboard companies in France, with a lot of money, because they were already very well positioned, and as well from other countries, he managed, because of the purpose and because of the idea that he had to associate the purpose basically to the financing model of advertising, to pass in front of them, and they could not react, because they didn't have in their blood the purpose and the cure of the purpose to the people and to the mayors. And the mayors said, okay, at no cost, I can have some services, and for my people and for people voting in my cities, it will be a great bargain. So this is why I still believe that purpose is fundamental, because we are the sons of the purpose as a company, and today as a global leader.
I have to confess, I didn't know the story, which is very, very interesting. So the concept is you have been a very early adopter of the concept of shared value, because what you are describing, and we will see later, is exactly the idea of the shared value. You solve the need, you solve someone's need, and therefore you create value, and you have a reasonable part, you can pocket a reasonable part of that value you have created with care, in fact. That's very interesting. So let me go maybe straight to the next question, which is, which are the difficulties that you encounter, that you find in a company when you want to implement a purpose in a company that was not originally based on purpose? Because we have seen, we have heard what the stories of Mr. Capellino and what Jean-Sébastien just told us, companies that were born on the concept of purpose. What do you think are the difficulties to implement, and which is your experience in this respect, to implement purpose in a company which was not originally designed or built on purpose? Roberta.
So it's not easy. It's not easy. And I remember in Bose, at the beginning was very difficult, because this topic was considered something that was diverting from profit and distracting energies. And step by step, you need, through some low-hanging fruits, step by step, you can demonstrate how crucial is in introducing this aspect in the way of doing business. And what I've seen in Bose has been a big change in the mission of the company. And the human-centric approach has been introduced in the company mission. And the concept were generating products that were a sort of life-changing experience. And in this way, the company was creating several products that were helping people in different areas. Could be hearing, could be sleeping, could be in hearing better or solving some issues in the behavior through the sound. And in this way, you can create products that are really relevant to people, but also generating a lot of profit. So this kind of change has generated in the senior management the awareness that you can do something that is has a social impact, and it's a social challenge, but also generating profit. The key steps are: start developing first step in order to demonstrate that it works. What I see now, for example, in Floss, that is a typical Italian company, is something like this. So the previous entrepreneur was really sensitive to this concept of comfort of the light and human-centric approach. But what we are doing now, more and more, we are focusing the innovation, focusing the design development in order to be very to be very aligned to this kind of concept. And it means also doing some difficult decisions, taking some difficult decisions, because also in the development of a lighting product, it means also sometimes increasing a little bit the cost, or changing a process and changing a production line with some short-term implications for looking at the long run. For example, design. Design has diverted a lot in the last years in something that is very aesthetic. In reality, design is not only aesthetic. Design is mainly related to functions and what does it mean for the human being. And now we are step by step back to this. And also the pandemic is helping us to go back to this. And so what we are trying to do now is in our organization, more and more demonstrating that it works. And in this way, more and more people are going to be aligned, and they are going to accept some short-term implications for a long-term view.
Thank you very much. I think this is a key learning, is that sometimes you have to trade something of the short term for a long-term view. but people have to follow. So you can't impose that on organizations. You have to convince. You have to be a little bit of a preacher as well sometimes.
Change management in a way or another.
Exactly. So your experience, but you.
Yeah, no, not very different from what Roberta explained. But I mean, the big change that we have seen in the last, let's say, 20 years is the opening of new markets with the globalization. And this has been an opportunity for us to enter into new market with still our purpose-based proposal and to be extremely successful to develop on our values in terms of quality of the maintenance, innovation, service to people, good materials, and so on. But in parallel, we have seen the globalization to be always more open and free, and always less somehow a right market versus a free market. And the big difference between a free market and a right market or an adjusted market in terms of competition is that at the end, money talks and money decide. Money decide means that whether you are a mayor or a citizen at the end, and especially for the mayor, they decide on the lowest price. And the lowest price, somewhere, you have some compromise to make on the quality of the product, on the materials that you use, and what do you put in the price. One example, for example, here in Milan, we lost 10 years ago a tender for the free bag scheme that is now operated by one of our competitors. And today, the municipality is unhappy. But we knew at that time that basically we lost mainly on price, but that price did not encompass the full scope of the service, but just the cost of the service, and not basically the resources, the number of people, number of trucks, number of commitments that you were able to put behind the service in order for the service to be at best. And that's very difficult on one hand to go through this kind of compromise when you are a purpose-based or purpose-built company. And when you are a purpose-built company and you need to deal or compromise on price, that's a big dilemma, one hand. On the other hand, we compete against other big media groups. And the largest media group today in the world, as you know, they are not in Europe, they are in the US, and they are in China. They are called Alibaba, they are called Facebook and Google. And those guys, they may have a purpose somewhere, but they are very heavy in terms of money and capacity, and they have a huge power on everything and in every vertical they tackle. And in tax, in how basically they compete against you in Europe coming from America, there is not a fair competition. And this not fair competition, and therefore this open market competition, is for us very damageable. For us, and not only for us, but for a purpose-based company, where do you compromise? And you need to compromise if you want to be competitive. So, and the vision of the politic is key in our business, because if a politic says, no, for me the price is the quality, and the quality is based on these criteria in terms of environment, in terms of hiring people, and in terms of where does the product you use come from. Do they come from China, or do they come from somewhere in Europe or in Italy? Today, no difference, the price.
Thank you very much. So there is a big challenge, as you say, and I think it's a key lesson for all the entrepreneurs or for all the managers, that even if your company is solidly built on purpose, the world around you still poses you with threats of any kind and with unfair competition, or unfair, not purpose-based competition, and therefore you are there fighting for the purpose as well. So people should not imagine that once purpose is installed in the company, everyone lives happily ever after. In fact, the fight is only beginning.
And people sometimes in your organization do not want to switch. They say, we are purpose-based company. And we say, okay, but we can be purpose-based company and buried in a cemetery somewhere in 20 years along the line.
I think when we will see later that shared value implies a strong profitability. So none of what we are discussing today can can be meant to damage the profitability of the business, which in the end is the blood of the business. Then the way you donate blood or the kind of circulation of blood that you design, that's a different story. What we are saying, we're not vampires, for sure, but we need proper blood circulation, therefore proper profitability. I think at that point, the next question comes. You mentioned a sort of uneven legal assumptions between American companies and European companies. Now, my next question to you is, once we discuss, or when we start discussing purpose because of that, is there a European twist or an Italian twist to the concept of purpose that you have come across in your career with respect to what we have heard coming from the States? So do you think there is a difference in the way we should do it here and they do it there, or in the end is more or less just a matter of small details? Maybe we can start from you.
Okay. I think, and we see with the Green New Deal that was presented, I think, 10 days ago by the President of the EU, von der Leyen. I think Europe, for its history, for its cultural wealth, and for its universal value, has an important role to play, provided that Europe take conscious of who we are, what is our history, what are our values, and we try not only to compete on price and not only to evolve in a free market one way, but not both ways. And this is something that I think one day, one mayor said to my father, it was 30 years ago, "You are discovering what is competition." And he said, "You know, I was born with competition because I started with nothing and I had all the people in place already. You don't know what is competition, but you will discover, and you are fully unprepared. You are in your ideology and you are completely illusioned by what you think is protected in Europe." So by not being conscious of what was Europe and by being very open as a marketplace, we lost a lot. But working with my personal foundation in France and looking in Italy where I live about some very, very small companies and medium and small companies, SMEs, that have struggled in the last 20 years and that are now struggling today, looking at their value and looking at the purpose they had, I think we need to adapt to be conscious of who we are, where do we come from, what we have been capable of, and to be a bit less naive, and therefore tougher. But you can be purpose-based and tough. But being purpose-based, lost in the no man's land is very dangerous, and this is where we have been staying for years. Politics has an important role to play. We see as a company and as an organization, companies, global companies, moving a lot and having to respond to their consumer and moving fast. And that's a good news, and that's something maybe 10 years ago was very different. We see politics slowly starting to pick up, but if we don't treat the bylaws and the frame of laws and the frame of rules as Europe, and if we don't work on our bones and our values, I think it will remain difficult for us because they keep on moving in China and in the US very fast. And for them, Facebook, for them, is a diplomatical weapon. If Facebook is not in the US, Facebook will say, okay, you will see me done by someone else in China. So you need to protect me. And where we are, where do we sit here? But we have a lot of Facebook or Silicon Valley in Europe, in Italy, in Tuscany, in France. We have a lot of other kind of Silicon Valley. We just need to be conscious of that and working on them.
Thank you very much. I think it's a very interesting perspective. I was a couple of weeks ago discussing about the fact that Europe, in fact, is what they call a digital colony. So we have been colonized completely, whereas other countries like Russia, even Korea has. In Korea, there is a Korean search engine which is very, very successful and very effective. In Europe, we were not able still to put together the money, and we have the intelligence, we have the technology, but as you say, the conscience probably is still lagging behind. But I think some things are coming up to the conscience, so I'm hopeful that possibly with leaders like you, there we stand a chance. Roberta, your view on the Italian sauce for purpose?
Yeah, so I think that probably Antonio Romani has referred to this. So I think that the connection to the territory is very relevant and very specific to Italian companies. What I see in the company where I live, so it's, for example, Flossi is in the Brescia area, and during the COVID, the connection with the territory has been crucial. There's the model, the approach is like industrial district, and there's a number of small companies that are around Floss, around this company, that are really tightly connected. And this kind of understanding and awareness of social impact is crucial, because if you don't behave in a certain way in a period when your behavior is going to impact these companies and probably to destroy or support, it is something very strong in Italy. In Italy, there's a lot of industrial districts, and there are some entrepreneurs and companies that are tightly linked, and the social impact is also helping small companies, but also on the opposite side, giving more power to the mother company. This kind of connection is very peculiar to Italy, because I haven't seen something like this in the American companies where I work in. So I think that is very powerful. And another topic that to me is very strong is in Europe or in Italy, if we don't activate the change, I'm not sure that the politicians are able to introduce a change, because they are not going to really transform the situation. And probably if all the key companies are going to be conscious of the social impact we can have one by one, we are going to make a real change. Not waiting for politicians, not waiting for their transformation, but start transforming step by step, piece by piece. Small initiatives are going to add the one to the other, and then we can be very strong and creating a sort of lever in order to change the approach. If we don't do it and we wait for politicians implementing something, we are going to be lost. And in Europe, it's terribly real, because we are very, very individual, very, very separated one to the other. And there's no strength, no connection. And in reality, we need to work in this way. American Chinese are more cohesive, and they are very powerful. In Europe, we need to really work step by step, starting from the territory and creating this kind of network in order to be more powerful.
Thank you very much, Roberta, and again, thank you, Jean-Sébastien, and thank you, Roberta, for sharing with us your, in my opinion, very precious view. I agree with Roberta that change will be bottom up, because the political scene will start to offer something only if there is a strong aggregated demand in the citizenship. So I think the citizens will have to move, citizens meaning also political, financial elite, the world of business, but the real change will have to be promoted from below, or from all sides at least, from many sides at least, multilaterally. It will not come from the top, and it will not come from politics only. It never did, in fact. So if there is something to learn from history, that change never comes from the top. So I think it's was a very interesting first part of the afternoon. Thank you very much. I know you have to fly because you have a dinner in Genoa, so have a...
I need to drive.
To drive, yeah. Fly, meaning, yeah. Drive fast. Not too fast, but fast. Thank you very much, Jean-Sébastien. Thank you, Antonio. Thank you, Paolo. And Mr. Capellino, if he's still connected. It was a big pleasure for me, and I hope for the audience as well, and for all of us. So thank you very much. And have fun with the Purpose Playbook, which you can now download. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.